Good morning, boys and girls. I am back and I'm going to read to you this morning Chapter 6, The Vet's Visit. Clover and Oliver waited anxiously in the front room for the vet. Oliver pulled out his wellness wand. This should help, he said, waving it vigorously over Dippity and then Picnic. But all the wand conjured was some chicken noodle soup. It didn't seem so helpful, especially since it was too hot for soup. Who ate soup in the summer anyway? Apparently Oliver did. He was on his third bowl when they heard a strange sound outside. There was a loud whooshing of wings and bleating that sounded like a goat. Clover opened the door to an astonishing sight. It was a goat, sort of. Just below the agency steps stood a very large, very white mountain goat with two pointed black horns and two things that spread out above it like small, fluffy clouds. It wore a saddle and a bridle, and Gump was standing beside it holding its reins. The gnome didn't look too happy with the situation, especially since the goat was busy nibbling the tip of his hat. The goat's rider wasn't paying this any attention. In fact, it seemed she was used to the goat's behavior, for her clothes were nibbled and possibly her hair too. It was hard to tell about the hair, though, because it looked like a scraggly patch of moss on a rock. Actually, everything about the woman reminded Clover of a rock. Her skin was grayish, her nose large and lumpy, and her shoulders square. Was she a troll? Mr. Jams had never said. Clover had met all types of magical folk at the agency, from ghosts to leprechauns. Troll or not, this was definitely the veterinarian. Around her neck was a large stethoscope, and her bag had a patch on it that read, Magical Animal Supplies, Medicines, Mixtures, and Mockstures. What mockstures were, Clover didn't know. Dr. Nurch's eyebrows were the same color as her hair, and they rose up in one piece when she saw Clover. At last, it's good to finally meet you, said the vet, shaking Clover's hand with force. Clover had missed Dr. Nurch's last visit to check on the magical kittens because the vet had arrived before the sun was up. But schedules are schedules, and mine is beyond ridiculous. Good thing Nanny here is an early riser, she said, gesturing to the winged goat. Today we had an appointment at dawn, another case of a wand-happy witch, trying to see if she could get her bat to speak Latin. Of course, that was a smart idea. Dr. Nurch huffed with a roll of her eyes. I've never seen a bat so confused. Poor thing was reciting the alphabet upside down and backward. Sense, not spells, right? Said Clover. Dr. Nurch smiled, revealing a large gap in her teeth. Right you are, she said. Now, what's the problem here? Clover invited the vet in and showed her Dippity and Picnic, who were both on the couch. She started to explain when Oliver interrupted. I thought at first it might be a case of transformationitis, but as Dr. Gibbs says, transformationitis occurs within an hour, and it has already been 3. Dr. Gibbs is a family friend of the Von Hoofs. You know, he even gave me. Oliver reached into his pocket and started to pull out a wand. Dr. Nurch held up one hand to stop him from continuing, then set her bag on the table. When she opened it, Clover saw a pair of giant tweezers, a teeny tiny bandage roll, and a syringe that zigzagged like a lightning bolt. She wondered what else was inside. I've heard of Gibbs, said the vet. Use a wellness wand. I hear. They seldom work. Can't stand those things. Oliver looked deflated. Much to Clover's delight, he stuck his wand back in his pocket. Dr. Nurch didn't seem to notice and began to check Dippity. First, she examined his fur, peering closely at his tail, and then at a white patch on his stomach. Don't think that was there before, said Clover. Replied Dr. Nurch, pulling out a thermometer from her bag and placing it in Dippity's ear. After a moment, she checked it. Temperature seems good. She held her stethoscope against Dippity's side and listened. Heart rate regular, breathing too. How's his appetite? Normal, replied Clover. Kit's got magic. He can calm people and animals too. It's a rare talent that is correctly referred to as, started Oliver. Yes, proximal tranquility, said Dr. Nurch, waving Oliver quiet again, much to his dismay, as she took what looked like a long black wand from her bag. A wand? You do have one, Oliver cried triumphantly. Dr. Nurch shot him a withering glare. That is not a wand, that is a magometer, of course. What exactly a magometer was, Clover didn't know, and clearly neither did Oliver, so she watched curiously as Dr. Nurch held it over Dippity. After a moment, the magometer began to flow a faint yellow. Low. She clucked her tongue and moved on to Picnic before Clover could ask what that meant. Picnic, of course, was much harder to examine, but since his nose and paws were visible, and the golden tips of his floppy ears were now too, it made things easier for the vet. She checked his nose first, then pressed her stethoscope on what had to be his side. Heart rate seems good, she noted. She took out a square magnifying glass and peered through it. No fleas either. Do magic animals get fleas? Asked Clover. Of course, said Oliver knowingly. Dragon fleas spit itchy fire. Unicorn fleas are sparkly, so they blend in with unicorn hair. Invisible fleas shall be part of Chapter 7 in my volume on invisible animals. Well, our animals don't have fleas, said Clover confidently. I keep them clean. Dr. Nurch wasn't listening. She held the magometer over Picnic. It glowed a faint yellow. The vet clucked her tongue again. What does it mean? Asked Clover. Not sure yet, said Dr. Nurch, except this is a magical malady of some sort. Have any other animals been infected? Oliver shook his head, but Clover said, What about Phoebe? The phoenix is in a separate case, said Oliver. What's this? Asked Dr. Nurch. I didn't know you had a phoenix here. We're just looking after her for a bit, said Clover. Well, we were, but now... While Clover explained, Dr. Nurch's eyebrows scrunched closer and closer together. When Clover was done, the vet insisted on seeing Phoebe's ashes, which got an orange color reading from the magometer, and a double orange meant trouble. Dr. Nurch's did her double tongue cluck again when she declared she must check the rest of the animals as well. I can show you around, said Oliver. Dr. Nurch shouldered her bag. Best have the ones most familiar with the animals. Come, Clover, let's start with the unicorns. Clover couldn't help but smile. As it turned out, there wasn't much she had to do for the vet except hold her heavy bag. After the stables, they moved to the tank room where the vet checked Neptune's teeth, nose, and tail too, the hippocampus obediently lifting it out of the water for her. Very well trained, commented Dr. Nurch. After collecting a sample of the hippocampus's scales, she held the magometer over him. Instead of a pale yellow, it glowed a faint pink. Better, said Dr. Nurch. Then they were on to the small animals' room. The only animals the vet needed some help with were the fairy horses. Dr. Nurch's fingers were too big for the tiny thermometer and stethoscope that were required to check the fairy horses' temperatures and heart rates. So Clover got to use them, holding each horse on one hand and the tiny tools in her other. Good job, said Dr. Nurch. You've a pixie's touch. Clover felt proud. With every animal, Dr. Nurch used the magometer. Each time it glowed a faint pink, except for the salamanders, which glowed turquoise. Did pink mean normal? But then what did turquoise mean? When they returned to Oliver, after scrubbing thoroughly in the washing room, Clover found out. Generally low magic levels all around, except the fire salamanders, announced Dr. Nurch with a sniff through her lumpy nose. They're fine. The other animals' readings are better than Picnic's and Dippity's, but still not normal. You said Mr. Jams is gone? That's a shame. Not that you aren't capable, Clover. I know you are. It's just that I've never seen anything quite like this. The hippocampus recently arrived, correct? I told Mr. Jams we weren't taking proper precautions with Neptune, though he insisted it was fine, said Oliver. Newcomers do tend to be the bearers of blight. Clover couldn't help but think, "You're new too," though she didn't say it out loud. Well, Mr. Jams thought Neptune was fine. I'm apt to believe him. Still, I'll do some research on waterborne illnesses. Perhaps consult a Brooke. It is the Encyclopedia of Magical Marine Mammals, asked Oliver excitedly. Brooke, said Dr. Nurch, looking to Clover's delight, more than a little annoyed now. As in Aloysius Brooke, a vet at the sea who's a good friend of mine. Yes, I think I'll speak with him. In the meantime, Dr. Nurch opened her bag and rifled through it. These are Pocus pills, she said, producing a round bottle as big as Clover's fist. Try 'em first. They usually stop loss of magic. Give one to each animal, even the salamanders, just in case. Then she took out another bottle that was narrow and long. If that doesn't work, this is extra strength Presto powder. It's a vial of stuff. Animals don't usually like it, but it will boost the magic of the animal in an urgent situation. Of course, you should phone me if things get worse, or if things get better. I'd like to have an update either way. Here's my card as a reminder. She handed it to Clover. It read, Dr. Nettie Nurch, Magical Animal Veterinarian, the Hillside Hospital, just before Beyond the Woods, 999-111-SENSE. What about Phoebe, asked Clover. How were they supposed to give Ashes medicine? Blow on the embers, gently, mind. That should help. And I noticed one of the kids had been adopted. Was that recently? Just yesterday, said Clover. I handled the adoption, said Oliver. I'll phone Sabine to make sure the young Grimalkin is healthy. Sabine must be the witch's name, thought Clover. They were interrupted by a loud bleating outside. Time to go, said Dr. Nurch, closing her bag with a snap. Nanny is good at keeping me on schedule. I've got to check up on Snort. Remember him, Clover? Of course she remembered Snort. He was the baby dragon she adopted out earlier in the summer. Is he okay, she asked. Oh, yes, he's got that troublesome fire under control now, with the help of Henry. It's just a normal checkup. Not like this. Dr. Nurch clugged her tongue again. It's really too bad Mr. Jams isn't around. That Jams is always off fixing one sticky situation or another. Jams? Sticky? She chuckled at her own joke, and Clover was surprised how very familiar to Nanny her laugh sounded. While Dr. Nurch cleaned her supplies in preparation for her next appointment, Clover fetched Nanny from Gump, who looked relieved to see the goat go. Nanny nibbled at one of Clover's braids. When she moved onto the collar of Clover's dress, Clover was sure she saw Gump smirk. But before she could say anything to him, she felt a tug on the necklace. Nanny was nibbling at the chain. Stop that. You'll get me into trouble, said Clover, quickly pulling it away from the goat. She still hadn't returned the necklace. There hadn't been time. I'll just keep wearing it for now, she thought, until things settle down after all. Oliver hadn't noticed it was missing. For such a know-it-all, he wasn't very observant. Clover had just tucked the charm out of sight when Dr. Nurch emerged, with Oliver tagging along behind her. Slinging her bag across her square shoulder, the vet settled into the saddle and was off, but not without some final advice. As Nanny lifted into the air, wobbling a little under the weight of the vet, Dr. Nurch hollered, Remember, 2 can be better than 1. Unless, of course, you're a 3-headed dog. It was the first thing the vet had said that didn't really make sense. And that is the end of Chapter 6, The Vet's Visit. Chapter 7 is going to be Pills and Powders. And remember, your assignment for this chapter is, and I'm trying to look really quickly as I don't have it pulled up. Sorry, I jumped a minute ago. That was the lightning and thunder outside. It's not very good weather today. So your assignment for Chapter 6 is Okay, listen. So after you listen to the chapter 6, the missing magic, think about how the chapter ended. Now write another ending for chapter 6, the vet's visit. So in my example that I have written is, I would change the ending of chapter 6 by having Oliver walk in as Nanny nibbled on the necklace Clover had taken from the box but still hadn't returned. As Oliver notices the dangling charm from her necklace, he becomes very upset with Clover. He begins to confront Clover when suddenly Dr. Nurch accidentally is knocked over by Nanny. Then all of the events that have led up to this point begin to unravel and the truth is slowly revealed. So that was my change for chapter 6. So after reading what we just read in the chapter, what would your change be? So, and it can be anything you want. My example is on the assignment page. So again, you're going to read chapter 6 and then you're going to create your own ending for chapter 6. All right. Well, I hope you guys stay dry today because the weather is kind of nasty out there. And be safe. Be a good citizen. Be good and kind to your mom and dad and brothers and sisters. Make sure that you're getting on Canvas every day and you're getting all of your assignments done. If you are in my small group for Tuesday, I will see you on Tuesday at 10 a.m. If you are in on my small group on Thursday, I will see you on Thursday at 10 a.m. Remember, we meet in teams. When you sign on, make sure your camera is off so that I'm the only one that can be seen. And your microphones can be on so you can talk to me, but all cameras are off so that I'm the only one on so that we can focus on our lesson. Remember, if you have any questions about reading or math or science, write them down and we will talk about them when we meet in our small group. All right, until then, from my heart to your heart, I miss you, I love you all, and I will talk to you soon. Bye.